Hello and welcome to South Asia Chat, a podcast brought to you by the Institute of South Asian Studies at the National University of Singapore. I'm your host, Mriganika Singh Tanwar, a research analyst at the Institute. India's journey in artificial intelligence is reaching an inflection point as AI is projected to play a crucial role in fast tracking the target set by the government of $1 trillion digital economy by 2028. Last year, India also recorded the highest year over year growth in AI talent hiring at 33%. But behind these impressive figures is the bold vision of India's AI mission, democratizing AI for all. From large language models to capture the diversity of Indian languages, to AI's transformative potential in critical sectors like healthcare, education, and agriculture, recent months have seen landmark launches like the Sarvam AI, India AI Innovation Challenge, and Future Skills Initiative. Yet challenges persist as India aims to position itself as the global AI leader, balancing ambitious innovation with inclusive growth, strong governance, and cross sectoral collaboration. As we dive into the opportunities and tough questions shaping the future of India's AI revolution, joining us is somebody who has been at the forefront of shaping India's AI policy, Mr. Jibu Elias. Mr. Jibu Elias is a leading expert in AI policy, safety, and global governance, recognized as the foremost authority on India's AI ecosystem. With a career dedicated to shaping responsible AI frameworks, he actively works at the intersection of policy, governance, and AI safety, ensuring that AI benefits everyone. Currently, he leads the Responsible Computing Challenge in India at the Mozilla Foundation, driving efforts to embed ethical AI practices in education and industry. He's one of the chief architects of India AI, where he served as the head of content and research for 5 years. Beyond India, Jibu's work spans global AI governance, ethics, and risk mitigation. He's responsible AI fellow at the Simpson Center for the last 2 years, where he collaborates with global experts to examine AI's impact in developing nations. He's also a member of key international AI governance bodies, including member of International Advisory Group of UNESCO LG Global on Ethics and Ethics of AI, OECD's Working Party at AI Governance, and founding editor of Springer's AI and Ethics Journal. Welcome, Mr. Elias. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Mriganika, for having me over. It's a great pleasure to be part of your podcast.
To start off, as someone who is the pioneer of India's AI ecosystem like yourself, could you perhaps enlighten us on what drives the vision behind India's policy focus of AI?
Well, thank you. And let me start by saying that's a quite generous description you have given to me. I don't think I am a pioneer, but I did put my bit in contributing towards the AI ecosystem we have right now in India. Now, if you look at the major driver behind the vision behind India's AI policy, it's very clear that India is pursuing a sort of a vision of AI autonomy with inclusive innovation. If you go back to 2018, that's where India's national AI strategy paper was published by the Niti Aayog, which is a national research think tank for the government of India, where the key focus was AI for all. And I remember very clearly. I remember very clearly in some of my conversations with the people who worked behind that strategy paper, telling me that when we look at each and every major players in AI, major economies, US has its own way of doing AI driven by private sector. UK back then wanted to lead AI research. Canada was focusing on something else. So there was this larger question: what should India's mandate on AI should looks like? And that's where the country, the people, and that's where this folks came and developed the idea of AI for all. And the key idea was how can we turn AI, a magnificent technological tool, to address and solve some of the larger problems the economy, the society has been affected by for decades since its independence. And that's where the whole idea of using AI for inclusive innovation came. And if you look at how India has been using technology for upliftment of its people, it's very clear how we have mastered the arts of using digital public infrastructures in the last few years, whether it's the UPI payment platform or the other system. We have been doing a phenomenal job in building these platforms, and AI is gonna add another layer, or maybe gonna maybe going to make these platforms much better going forward, or new platforms can be built. So we are emphasizing a homegrown solutions that often align with the national development priorities rather than competitive dominance. And we have seen this approach of open innovation as well, and as well as democratizing AI tools. Look at the Bhashini program, for example, which facilitates multilingual processing across Indian languages. So the larger focus of India's AI policy has been on we would like to say raise responsible AI for social empowerment. I remember in 2020, the Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi himself has said, India should become a garage for AI tools and techniques for the global economy in general. Because if you can build something in India, if you can try out something in India, then that can be implemented across the globe. As a result of the diverse demography, geography, culture, and various other factors.
Certainly. Speaking of the India AI mission, which was a significant step in developing India's AI ecosystem, how would you assess the alignment between the mission's objectives and the progress that has been made so far?
So the IndiaAI mission was launched in 2024 as the AI National AI Mission. The IndiaAI initiative existed since 2020 in an official capacity. Now, the IndiaAI mission has set out, various ambitious objectives to bolster India's AI ecosystem. And the early progress indicates a strong alignment with many of the goals, the larger goals and larger vision, which I discussed earlier. The mission's core aim is to bridge the gap in the existing AI ecosystem and enable the emergence of India as a hub for development of AI technology and other applications. So this translates into several key pillars, as we call. That includes building a high-end AI compute infrastructure, which can have a larger public access, creating frameworks for data sets, nurturing AI startups with financing, advancing AI research via national innovation center, skill development, and importantly, ensuring AI safety. And so far, I would say it's a very good start the mission has had, and the AIKosha platform, which collects data sets and the effort to bring numerous GPUs, procurement of GPUs, NVIDIA GPUs, that's been another successful effort happening, and partnering with the French government on AI Action Summit are some of the notable success the India AI mission has had so far. And of course, the AI Impact Summit that's set to happen in February is another milestone in its existence. So this all speaks itself to the alignment, how it recognizes that the government of India has a role of facilitating, and how a private sector innovation, something like private sector innovation must go hand in hand to develop a robust AI ecosystem as well. And if you look back, right, especially on some of the things like compute and infrastructure, the mission to, I think we have exceeded almost 10,000 GPU target out of the 18,000 we have set initially. And this massive, we know how important procuring GPUs are, and we have seen with its importance through the Biden's executive order, and as well as some of the developments in China and well. So the mission has also now has set out to build India has its own foundational AI model, and I think two or three public vendors are working on that. One being Sarvam AI, another is Socket AI, and this is another milestone in the right direction. And you have to understand that there aren't many AI models. There aren't any AI models at all that are in Indian languages, and we have. And if you look at the numbers, only around 10% of Indians are good in English. Now, does that ask a larger question? What happens? How does the 90% will access this technology? Even if you want to use something like Gemini or Chat GPT, you need to know English, or you need to know some of the prominent Indian languages like Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, or Malayalam. but that's not the case, right? We have 20 official languages and hundreds of unofficial languages. So it's a great initiative to build our own foundation model, which will focus on Indic languages. And the mission has also expanded into AI safety aspect. There have been a lot of efforts on creating an AI safety institute, which has announced recently, as well as the role the IndiaAI mission and its leadership played in the as a chair of Global Partnership on AI is another important effort as well. So overall, considering how young this mission is, you know, I think it has covered a lot of milestones in such a short period of time.
I would like to delve a little deeper into what you just mentioned about large language models and foundational models. In your opinion, what are some of the roadblocks that India needs to address to develop these large language models in the long run?
Yes. So developing world-class large language models or LLMs in countries like India or anywhere faces several significant roadblocks. Now, especially and we are trying to overcome those challenges. One major challenge is access to computational power and hardware, which I mentioned earlier. So training these language models with billions of parameters demands enormous computing resources. Cutting edge GPUs or in some cases specialized AI chips. And historically, unfortunately, India has lagged in the compute hardware capacity. So until recently, even assembling 1,000 high-end GPUs domestically was a larger question. But current LLM proposals under the AI mission are requesting around 2,000 GPUs, highlighting the massive computer requirements for these advanced models. So the government's response is to invest heavily in AI supercomputing infrastructure and to partner with private sector to produce this hardware requirement at scale. And actually, this is a vital step, but ensuring a sustained access to the state-of-the-art chips and keeping them updated and of course, energy-efficient data centers will remain an ongoing challenge. Um, One tied very closely to India's push in semiconductor manufacturing and cloud sovereignty. But another challenge I will say is availability of high quality data for training and fine-tuning LLMs, especially in local languages. If you want to make a translation or language models in Indic languages, I think AI for Bharat effort by IIT Madras is the one good example where there's a large effort, open source effort to procure or make this language corpus for training these models. And like I said, LLMs requires a vast text corpus. While India has many languages and rich data sets, these are often fragmented or and the quality might not be appropriate for use cases within AI. So creating a large, more cleaned and importantly representative data sets in Indian language is a very important task. And I think the India AI mission is also, trying to address this through the India AI datasets platform to improve access to public data set as well. And one more challenge that we have seen from time and is the talent and funding roadblocks, especially with building this kind of, how do I say, large language models. While India produces a large number of engineers and researchers in AI, I think a few years back there was this interesting statistics that said that Indians lead the third largest number of Indians are the third largest, third in terms of research papers published, and third in terms of academic research as well, and in AI behind US and China. Also, if you look at the Stanford's AI index for last 3, 4 years, when it comes to talent penetration, India has been leading consistently. So the top AI researchers and scientists, the best of the best, often prefer to work abroad in a larger companies where they can find more resources to meet their goals. So that's a big challenges, right? And this involves what this raises the larger question: how can we make sure we bring back this talent to India? And this is a question India has been facing for many years. We call it brain drain. So alongside talent, capital is another constraint. I mean, we know training is large language model, something like that can cost millions of dollars in compute as well as man hours. So, and in summary, and to develop these models at scale, India has to overcome these three major challenges. The compute gap, the question of data set, and and talent as well as funding, right? So now the good thing is we have recognized each of these roadblocks and addressing them with unison uh, will pave the way for India's on foundation model that essentially reflect Indian languages and values as well.
I think you rightly pointed out these challenges existing in the AI ecosystem related to the funding, the talent, the compute capacity, and the access to high quality data sets. If I may turn the discussion towards AI startups, in your opinion, how critical do you think is the role of private sector in the India AI mission?
So I remember entering this space long back in 2016. That's when I started focusing on artificial intelligence. I started my path there as a journalist who was covering emerging technology. And the earlier efforts or push in India's AI ecosystem came from two areas. One is academia, the especially the IITs, the ISC, ISI, the premier academic institutions, and second was startups. In the year 2016 to 18, we saw a how do I say boom in AI startups in India. And this is pre-generative AI. And we have seen startups like Dave AI or Niramai, Fractal, then Cure AI. Many of these AI startups with lot of aspiration coming up. Many of them wanted to address some of the existing gaps in healthcare, whether it's cancer diagnostics or digitizing health record, or in agriculture, startups like Cropin, Interlaw Labs, who wants to focus on soil quality identification and many more. So the initial efforts from these startups has been very critical, so that we when by the time the government identified the significance of AI, we didn't have to start anything from scratch. There's been already a thriving AI startup ecosystem, and this is one of the fastest growing, even in 2020. So that's one thing. And importantly, private sector's involvement is critical when it comes to success of the larger mission of the AI mission as well, right? And some of this can be addressed through something we call private-public partnerships as well. Yeah, so startup ecosystem has been a crucial part of India's AI journey. And now when we look now, we have startups like Sarvam, which have been doing phenomenal job, as a global player itself. So I firmly believe the startup ecosystem in India is a crucial part of India's AI vision, and they will continue to play a significant role going forward.
Very rightly said. Now, as we know that India currently lacks a comprehensive AI legislation, and since you mentioned generative AI, I would like to know your thoughts on whether the existing regulatory frameworks that we have, whether they are sufficient to address the risks posed by generative AI going forth.
I think, yes, as you pointed out, India does not have a dedicated AI law. Instead, India relies on existing IT laws and new guidelines to manage AI-related risk. So various aspects of AI are actually touched by some of the current legal frameworks. And yes, of course, there is a stop. It's been a stopgap approach. For example, the India's Information Technology of Act of 2000 and its IT rules of 2021 are being applied to certain AI scenarios. And in 2024, the Ministry of Electronics and IT issued advisory for AI and intermediaries that essentially extends existing rules to generative AI platforms, which you mentioned. So this advisory, uh, though not a full law, impose some immediate mandates, such as AI systems or platform must not facilitate unlawful content. or discrimination or threats to electoral integrity. This was during the national elections. And importantly, they must label or disclose, uh, under trial AI models, so users know when an AI output may be unreliable. And they must ensure that AI generated content, especially deepfakes, is clearly labeled and and should be traceable with metadata to identify its origin. These measures shows that the government is very well aware of the risk that's posed by generative AI, especially such as misinformation, bias manipulation, and is attempting to address them through extension of the current law. Additionally, there is other frameworks such as the Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023 that also indirectly covers AI by enforcing data privacy and consent, which constrain how AI systems handle personal data. But while these steps are important, these existing frameworks is not completely sufficient for the novel risks of generative AI or what is about to come. So the patchwork of IT rules and advisories can tackle how low-hanging issues under broad content and cyber laws, but many AI-specific challenges needed to be addressed by law. That's something should happen. For instance, questions of algorithmic transparency, accountability of AI, when it's especially when it causes harm, the question of IP related to AI generated work, scraping, and bias mitigation are not yet codified in Indian law yet. The current approaches mostly relies on general principle that whatever is illegal offline remains illegal online or via AI, which is a sound principle but might not capture the larger AI harms. So Indian policymakers actually appears to recognize these gaps and are moving cautiously forward towards a more comprehensive AI governance framework. A draft AI regulatory has been discussed in various forums, and there is a upcoming Digital India Act, which is a broad overhaul of tech legislation, is expected to include some of the AI provisions as well. So the government stance so far has been to encourage innovation in AI while keeping an eye on risk, favoring more guidelines and co-regulation in the interim. So, in the absence of a standalone AI law, right, we are, as I mentioned before, leveraging the related regulations, the IT Act, the Data Protection Act, and sectoral rules and issuing advisories to manage generative AI risk. Yeah, so this frameworks addresses some risk, but not all. And as generative AI adoption grows, many agree that we might need a more unified and AI tailored regulatory approach going forward.
I think that does give a good picture of how the regulatory measures are going to pan out. For my last question, Mr. Elias, I would like to know your final thoughts on, can India retain technological sovereignty in the AI space?
Yes, India can strive to retain and even strengthen its technological sovereignty in AI, provided we continues on our current path of building indigenous capabilities and leveraging its unique strength. So this is not the first time India tried to be independent in a technological realm. We have seen the milestones India has accomplished through its space program, and the brilliant work ISRO has been doing in the last few decades as well. So technological sovereignty in AI means India should have control over critical AI technologies, whether it's algorithms or infrastructure, and not be wholly dependent on a foreign nation for these strategic resources or even a foreign company. So India's government has made this very clear, as an objective, right? And recent AI initiatives are very aligned with bolstering India's global leadership in AI and fostering technological self-reliance. This intent is reflected in, of course, the India AI missions projects, such as the foundation model that's under work. And by owning many of the key pieces of the AI value chain, such as the data sets, or the compute and the model itself, India can position itself to make a sovereign decisions about how AI is deployed for its people. So it's very clear that many of the initiatives by India AI Mission as well as the government of India is driven by geopolitical considerations of data sovereignty and the need for AI attuned to India's culture and languages. This is a conscious effort to ensure India has its own AI engines and it's not forced to depend on a foreign AI or for critical applications. India also benefits, as I mentioned before, from its inherent strength of its vast digital public infrastructure initiatives, such as Aadhaar, UPI, digital health record initiatives that's under pipeline. And these are all largely homegrown and government-backed efforts. And these essentially provides a robust backbone on which Indian AI solutions can be built and scaled independent of the big tech platforms. And they can also generate valuable data that can fuel local in AI innovation. And and secondly, India's demographic dividend and talent pool gives us a unique edge. If you look at the numbers, India produces millions of STEM graduates every year and has a thriving community of developers, ecosystem of startup, and many of them are who are enthusiastic in the space of AI, open source AI especially. And so the human capital is crucial for any sustained tech sovereignty, as AI leadership is as much about talent and ideas as it's about hardware.
That was an interesting discussion. Thank you, Mr. Elias, for engaging in our podcast.
Thank you, Mriganika. This was a great opportunity to speak with you and be a part of this podcast. Thank you very much.
You were listening to South Asia Chat. To learn more about our work, please visit us at isas.nus.edu.sg. You can also get updates through our social media. We are on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. South Asia Chat is also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you.